Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's 10:32, and I'd like to call the May 12th, 2022 meeting of the Lackawanna County Regional Planning Commission to order. And now we'll do a roll call. Cindy Campbell.
Present.
Jerry Carey. Absent. John Pocius.
Present.
Chet Murley. Absent. Okay.
He's here.
He's on the call.
His
He's here, yeah.
Oh.
mic is muted.
Oh, okay. Harry Lindsay.
Present.
Rosemary Broderick.
Present.
And Tony Grisanti.
I'm here.
Oh, hi, Tony.
I told Mary Liz yesterday, I'm not so sure how long I'll be here, maybe for a half hour or so, because I'm in another meeting actually in New York, so.
Thank you. Okay.
But I wanted to join. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, and did we hear from Tom Owens Jr.?
No,
No.
we have not.
All right. And now we move to public comment. Was there any public comment, Mary Liz?
I have not received any requests from anybody, so no.
Okay. All righty, and now for the minutes. We have distributed the April 14th board meeting minutes via the email to the board. And I'd like to know if there are any corrections, additions, deletions to the documents. None? Okay, then I ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, John, thank you. Any second?
I'll second the
I'll
motion.
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right, and now we go to the bills. Okay.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. And now correspondence.
Okay, we only had 5 letters going out this month. 2 were to Valerie from our office for CDBG projects for the environmental impact statements. We just had to sign off on them that there wasn't any environmental impact to the projects. 3 support letters. 1 was to the Heritage Valley for an economic impact assessment of the trail system. 1 to actually Blakely Borough, that was their engineer or somebody doing work for them, for a DCED flood mitigation grant, and to a DCNR grant to Taylor Borough for improvements to Durenick Park.
Okay. Then we move to the old business.
Okay, under transportation planning, the first item is the first quarter invoice is ready to go. We're waiting for the PennDOT contract, or I'm sorry, the Colts contract. Colts has signed off on that. We do need a motion to approve it so Brenda and myself can sign it. We need to get that to PennDOT. They have not had a contract with us for the pass-through money from the Federal Transit Authority for several years. They're finally getting back to requesting the reimbursement from us. So it's pass-through money that we get. So it just comes from Federal Transit to us and then to Colts for their work on the UPWP.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we accept that.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. The second?
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, myself, Brenda, Bob, Jessica, we all participated in the April 20th MPO quarterly meeting. It was a hybrid meeting, so that was the first time we were back in the PennDOT building, and actually the first time since they've remodeled it that we were in the PennDOT building. The agenda items included some tip amendments, 3 projects. One of them was in Luzerne County. The other ones were ground-mounted delineators for the interstates and high-friction surface ramps for I-81. We discussed the spring project commencement, which Bob actually put together. So Jay Scheckman, of course, was doing that, where that he passed away. So Bob is assuming that responsibility. We received a request from the city of Carbondale for funding for 2 bridge repairs. Unfortunately, the IIJA money is not to add projects, but to kind of expedite what's already on the tip. We gave them some information on the multimodal program and some information on some new grant programs that are coming through the IIJA. The TASA awards, I think we've seen that maybe in the newspaper. We did get 3. That's the transportation set aside money. Archbold Borough for Columbus Drive for sidewalks and curbs near the Valley View High School and Intermediate School. Dixon City Borough for improvements to Main Street, multimodal improvements, and the Heritage Valley Authority for a mile gap in Dixon City as well. And then also the Multimodal Transportation Fund, one award in Lackawanna County to Oliphant Borough for improvements to Mid Valley Drive, sidewalks, curbs, actually bus shelters as well. We went over some progress reports. We talked a little bit about the downtown bike study, PennDOT Connects, and looking at revising the bylaws, and then again, the Eastern Freight study. So 2 days later, we went back to PennDOT for the PennDOT Connects meeting, and that's the municipal outreach meeting. There was about 30 people in attendance, and there was about 10 or so online. So again, it was a hybrid. People from all of District 4, there were some Wayne County representatives, Pike County, Luzerne, Lackawanna. I thought it was well attended. They basically went over, PennDOT's goals and all their information that's available to the public and the local municipalities. Bob is working on updating our functional class. Chris Chapman from Luzerne County actually popped over to our office after the PennDOT Connects meeting to help Bob or explain what he needed to do. So if Bob, you just want to give like a real brief overview on what this entails.
Yeah, so basically PennDOT on their one map system has traffic data for pretty much every road in the county. So what I've been doing is going through comparing the numbers for each road to what it's currently classified in the system, minor arterial versus local road versus, major collector, and seeing what needs to change.
Thank you. The Eastern PA Freight Alliance, again, that's a group of the 5 MPOs in the eastern part of the state doing the freight study. We interviewed the 2 consultants that finished in the top 2 positions. Right now we had to complete a tally and get back to Lehigh Valley. And right now it's still like within 1/10 of a point between these 2 consultants. So we're meeting again soon. I don't know exactly the date yet to discuss this and determine which consultant we're going to go with. Myself, Bob, and Jessica participated in the HOP meeting. That's held quarterly with PennDOT staff to review the projects that have been applied for highway occupancy permits. This is the first time I've been on this meeting since before the virus hit. It was quite, how do I say, eye-opening to see that the projects that PennDOT highlighted from Hazelton to Carbondale, except for one, every project was big box warehouses. We're talking the Hazelton exit, the Dorrance exit, I think Davis Street, we have one, Mayfield, and the Meredith Street exit. The only project that wasn't a warehouse was an Aldi's and a Wawa proposed for across from the Dunkin' Donuts on Music Street in Scranton.
Wow.
Working still with Chris on the tip. That should be ready to go shortly. We had to do an environmental justice analysis, which central office graciously did for us. So we don't have to worry about that. That will be advertised in the newspaper. It will be available here. It will be at a few of the libraries in the county as well. And that should be going out later this month or early June. Hope to be adopted at the July 6th MPO meeting. Bob and Jessica actually did a webinar on May 2nd on the, it's part of the IIJA. It's called Safe Streets for All program. It was a national presentation, so it was very general. Jess, I think you said the best thing you got out of that was the link for the website for the program.
Yeah, yeah. And to sign up for their newsletter. So they're just sending me other emails for webinars. So hopefully one is going to be more beneficial for us directly.
Right. And this is, like I said, a new program through the IIJA. Moving on, SAPA. We still haven't heard anything yet. I know Scranton's going back and revising some sections of the ordinance, but I haven't heard anything. Again, Dunmore is still waiting for them.
Right.
Scranton, New York passenger rail, no activity last month. Hazard mitigation. We got a request from FEMA to address some comments that FEMA had on our original application. Again, with the COVID money that we're getting, we're able to request a little bit more than normal, also with no local match. Again, we're doing it a little bit early again to get this money. They had some questions on the high hazard dam analysis, and this is something that we need to do that we haven't done before. They had suggested in an email that they sent out to everybody that we budget at least $20,000 for this project. So that is the amount I put in the budget. They came back and told us that we have 33 high hazard dams and we needed to budget about $110,000 for that.
Oh,
Yeah. So I misunderstood when they said at least. I thought that was what everybody was supposed to be requesting.
Wow.
So anyhow, we had to revise the budget amount to include the 110 for the high hazard dams. And then because of that, we had to eliminate 2 other additional programs that we had hoped to study. We had to eliminate the equity planning and the COVID studies. And we're hoping with the new Department of Health that the county's creating that they will, be dealing with COVID. So we eliminated that. So we are going to do the technological man-made hazards study and the cultural and historic resources study.
Do you know,
Hopefully.
Mary Liz,
Hopefully.
do you know the ownership on those dams?
I do, I have a list.
Who owns most of them, majority?
It's a mix.
Yeah.
It's a mix of public and private. I know the
Okay.
county owns a few. I think the water companies, proof, like I
Yeah,
said,
I'm sure.
a couple recreational groups, a couple private owners.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Nothing on the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Plan. And our new regional planning group came up with their own acronym now. We're calling it NORLAC for Northern Lackawanna Planning Association. We had a meeting up in Carbondale. It was representatives there except for Fell Township. They couldn't make the meeting, but Michelle Bannon from the city has been in contact with them. It was a positive meeting. Everybody was interested in it. What we decided was to go out to the local councils and supervisors to kind of sell the pitch to everybody. As of now, Ted and I were in Carbondale Township. They're on board. Last night, Ted and I were at Mayfield and they're on board. We actually are going to Vandling next week, and then we still have to set up meetings with German, Greenfield, and Bell. But so far, the reaction is positive from everybody.
Do you have funding lined up?
No, what we're going to do is we're going to get, what we're asking the municipalities right now is to express their interest, and then we're going to put an RFP out for a cost estimate, and then we're going to apply for the grants at that point.
Okay.
And that is it for old business.
Okay, and we move to new business.
Okay, so development reviews, we've got we had quite a few that had some interesting comments. So
Oh, yeah.
start with the first one is Cloverleaf. And Jess is going to talk about that one. That's an Archbold, and that is page 11.
Right, just like Mary Liz said, this is on page 11 of your packet. It's Cloverleaf Development in Archbold. I did, when I received this plan, I reached out to the municipality itself and had some questions. I'm sure they're really busy. I just haven't heard back. So a lot of my comments may have been addressed in maybe a master plan that exists somewhere. I'm not sure. It wasn't referenced on the plan. Anyway, this is on Beverly Road and Pierce Street in Archbold. This is the proposed construction of two-family dwellings and a multifamily dwelling. So we have 2 duplexes and a triplex. The community already has many townhouses and multifamily dwellings. There's also some single-family dwellings along, I believe it is Catherine Drive. So my comments, I wrote them without knowing if the streets were owned by the homeowners association, if there is a homeowners association, if they're owned by the municipality. Now, as of this morning, I know that they're owned by the municipality, so a lot of these things may not be applicable, but on page 12, my first comment refers back to that master plan or phase plan, if one does exist. I assume that they've already gone through some processes because it's a fairly developed community already. Item number 2 is reflective of townhouses not being a permitted use in the R2 district. There are a lot of townhomes already in existence on the property, so I'm sure there are variances that have been approved, and nothing was indicated on the plan, so I'm not sure. That's really the premise of all of my comments. There were just a lot of information missing off the plan. So does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns about this specific plan? I know there's...
This project has been ongoing for several years, and I know Steve has done reviews in the past, same thing, requesting the information on whether they got zoning approvals or if there is a master plan. And we have not, Archbold just does not want to answer or doesn't, we just can't, we don't hear anything back from them. So I know, the majority of the project is there and they're just adding a few more buildings, but again, keeping it consistent with the reviews we've done in the past, they're just keeping us in the dark as to what's actually going on there.
The sad thing with this whole thing right here is, Jessica, this is a marvelous review. All your reviews that I've looked at here in this month's package are like above and beyond. I mean, it's like you're the QA/QC officer for the engineering firms. It's like,
It's
That's
really
so nice.
good job.
no, I mean,
Great job.
that's what I'm saying. But the sad part is Archibald could ignore all these and just approve the plans in any shape or form, because this is just obligatory to get a review, like, am I right, Mary Liz?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that they don't do that, because I would really like to see this community have some open space and maybe some sidewalks, but that's besides the point.
Well, they are updating their comprehensive plan, and I'm assuming they're zoning, but I don't know that it's done. So maybe, they're waiting to see the final of that before they make comments. I don't know.
That's a
Or
really
if
good
this would
point.
be entailed to that. So,
Yeah,
so
But again, great job, Jessica. That is fantastic.
thank you. Then if you don't mind, I'd like to move on to the next one. This is on page 15, and this is in music. It's for proposed Mavis Discount Tires, and it's going in the Bernie Plaza development. The actual address is 3356 Bernie Avenue. So this property, I believe it's vacant now. Maybe historically, I think it used to be a restaurant. I'm really not sure. But it's the building opposite of where Long John Silver's is. So when you come into Bernie Plaza, it's on the right. They're proposing to demolish the existing building and then construct a new building for this Mavis Tire operation.
And is this more towards the front of the road?
Yeah. When you come down Bernie Avenue, there's a very steep retaining wall and you look down on this property. And it's kind of right in the nook there. And that's actually brings me into on page 16, my comment number 4 is about buffering and screening requirements. They do have really good buffering and screening requirements in their ordinance, but because of the condition of the site, I truly don't know if it's feasible. There's a very small strip of land in what would be the rear of the building, but I'm not sure that it can sustain any kind of trees or anything to buffer the residential properties. Also, the residential properties are built up probably about 20 or 30 feet. So I'm not quite sure that buffering or screening in compliance with the ordinance is going to be something that's feasible. So I hope the governing body takes that into consideration. There was a little bit of an issue with an ADA parking space. I'm very passionate about ADA compliance. And they had proposed to leave the parking lot as is. If that were the case, the first ADA parking space, the most accessible route would put them at a set of stairs. So I just propose that they move it over to allow more space and accessibility. Additionally, item number 1, they may have some issues with putting this use 100 feet away from the R district. Right now, it's proposed to be 38.81 feet away from the R district. So they may need to go get some approvals for that as well. Does anyone have any questions on this review?
Yeah, Jessica, this is John. Is this going to be a ground lease or what? I mean, they really should delineate, we had a similar situation in Scranton a few years ago when Popeyes went into the Southside Shopping Center. That was a ground lease that was defined by a meets and bounds inside the overall property. I don't think they can just move into that area without some definition of what they're actually going to be responsible for.
I
That's
don't
not.
think they showed that. Did they show that, Jess? I don't think so.
They didn't show any of that, no. No,
I just think they need one. I mean, that's up for the borough to decide, but I just believe that it should be some kind of ground lease to show whatever they're doing. Because you had comments on the parking spaces and for the overall shopping center, and there's been a drastic change down there. What's the name of the big supermarket? Billy Brace.
ShopRite.
Yeah,
ShopRite.
ShopRite's in there, and they're remodeling for other things down there. So the whole shopping center is getting a rebirth. And I think you got a right comment. They should look at the overall shopping center to see if there's enough square footage for the uses in there, enough parking.
Right.
But this is another good review, and I just, think there has to be some kind of ground lease or at least some kind of definition of what this Mavis is actually going to entail. That's my comment.
Right. I fully agree. Yes. Okay, if there's nothing else on that one, I'm going to move along to.
Okay, I'm gonna stop
Oh,
you there.
sorry.
Bob's got one in the middle here. Page 22,
Hi, Bob.
lands of Siemens in Benton Township.
So Lands of Siemens, it's lot consolidation on the banks of Lake Sheridan on State Route 107. So the biggest issue we had was that they don't indicate what the proposed use for the lot is. It's pretty small. With the buffer from the lake, I think it's 50 feet setback. About half of the lot is undevelopable. And then when you add in other setbacks, which they don't show on the plan, they list the two acre lot setbacks rather than the less than half an acre lot. So I'm not sure what their plan is as far as, are they planning to consolidate further with an adjacent lot that's owned by the same people, or just develop it as is?
And there's also an issue with the HLP there. If you're familiar with that area, it's of 107, it's quite a steep drop down to the lake property. So there
Okay.
may be a need for an easement through other properties. I think there already is one on the adjacent lot coming, like an easement that comes across the lots instead of directly from 107.
Right. There's an existing gravel drive that runs up to what will be the new lot.
We surmise that it's probably going to be consolidated with the adjacent property, but they didn't tell us. So we have to assume that it's going to be a developable lot until they tell us otherwise. Okay, I guess Jess, you're back up again.
All right. Then I'm going to go to page 26. This is a property in Jefferson Township, lands of Homer L. Butler. This is on Golf Course Road, and it is in a little nook between I-84 and the former golf course. It's a little triangular property there. So he's proposing to construct a 2,200 square foot steel pole building to be used as a minor automotive repair shop. I think that it's worth noting that the entire site can be seen from I-84. It kind of looks straight down. And that brings me into my first comment on page 27. I'm so sorry, that's my second comment, number 2, outdoor storage of vehicles. So when I looked at the site, there's a lot of kind of construction equipment. There's porta potties, there's an old bus, other kind of equipment that is stored on the upland portion of the lot that's almost level with I-84. So I was doing Google Street View, but when you're Google Street Viewing down or you're driving down the road, you can see everything there on the right. I'm not sure if that's part of this use or not. And that kind of led me to use my comment number 1 and define the use, and then express that there are some more extensive regulations if that use extends into something above and beyond this minor repair shop use. There's also a secondary access point to that upland area. So I'm really not sure if the plan is to service those vehicles, if maybe they're gone, I'm not sure. But I did have some concerns about that. Additionally, on the next page, page 28, he didn't have any ADA parking, so I'd like to see him add ADA parking. There was no landscaping plan or outdoor lighting plan, and they do need both of those as well. Does anyone have any questions about this particular review?
Yeah, just did they provide a boundary survey in their submission? Does it meet some bounds and the surveyor's seal on this plan?
They did.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. That was my comment. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. And he did pay the review fee is left blank, but he did pay, and I will add that when we get off the call. Then we'll move along, I guess, to the next one. This is page 31, and I promise I'm almost done.
This is good.
Lands, and I'm so sorry if someone knows the correct pronunciation, I might do a terrible job. Lands of Corriglia, I believe, Inc.
Yeah.
In Scott Township. So this is the proposed subdivision of a 37.56 acre parcel into 5 separate lots. It includes a street extension of Cherry Street, terminating in a cul-de-sac that will serve 4 of those lots. And then 1 lot will retain the road frontage on Justice Boulevard. There was no scale on the plan, so I tried to measure it out. I think that it is 1 inch equals 100 feet, but there were a few parts on the plan that I just couldn't get to match up. So maybe my scale is wrong, maybe those lines were wrong, I'm not sure. I think it's worth noting that Scott has already approved the plan. I got a call from the property owner or developer, but I told him I'll send him a copy of these comments when we're done, if you all approve them. So my first comment that I'd like to address on page 32 is item number 2. The plan indicated that it was a minor subdivision, but since they're creating the street and this cul-de-sac, it is a major subdivision. And I think maybe that's why a lot of these items were missed. Maybe they looked at it as though it was a minor when it's really a major.
And they've already approved it.
Yeah.
As is, so.
Yeah. And the things that I'm particularly concerned with, especially since it's already been approved, was number 3, 3A to be exact. Since there was no scale and they didn't indicate the road frontage for a lot of these new lots, I went off the curve data that was available. The curve data said that the road frontage would be 60.17 feet when the ordinance requires any new lot be 75 feet. So they may need to seek some approvals for that. Or it is possible, maybe that's something with the scale. I'm not sure, we don't know. Additionally, item number 4 is all relative to the new construction of Cherry Street and that cul-de-sac. There's no information on that. And then I think one of the most pressing concerns that I have is item number 5. There is a small part of the cul-de-sac that looks like it could be encroaching on wetlands. Again, with the way the plan is presented, maybe it's not, maybe it's just appears that way, but I think that's worth some heavy consideration.
Yeah, and actually the Cherry Street portion that's off-site, but is still owned by the same person, that part of the road is not improved as well. So when you look at that, plus the cul-de-sac extension, they may be disturbing more than an acre of land, which would require an MPDES permit. But they, again, submitted it as a minor with no information on road details or anything. And apparently the township has approved it as is.
Especially if there's an impact to wetlands, they might pull you into an MPDES permit, definitely, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe even more, maybe even a 105, who knows? But that's still, regardless of what the township said, those outside agency approvals
Oh,
are
yeah.
still required for construction.
Right.
I don't understand how you could do a subdivision without dimensions on the plan. I mean, the lots weren't dimensioned?
Yeah, there's no scale
Oh,
to measure
Yeah,
them.
there's no scale, and some of the dimensions, I was messing around with my scale.
Yeah.
Some of the dimensions added up to 1 inch equals 100. Some of them didn't match up at all. So I'm not sure. There were some dimensions, but particularly the one lot that I'm concerned with, it just didn't have any dimensions written down, except the curve data.
well, how could you do a subdivision as a surveyor without the dimensions? Doesn't make any sense. I see Harry rolling his eyes.
John, sometimes you have impatient property owners that just submit plans that aren't completed,
But as the professional, you have to tell them this is.
but it
this
might be
is
a
not gonna
sketch plan.
fly. You know,
A sketch plan, all of a sudden like, oh, give me that, I'll take care of that.
Oh, a sketch plan, yeah, okay.
Uh-huh.
yeah, I understand. I mean, there's
I
nothing we
know.
can do, but
I know, right,
it's a shame.
it is, it is,
If it's a sketch plan, they wouldn't need our stamp. They're calling for the stamp, so.
yeah. I mean, ESC knows what to do.
Yeah.
You know, they've been in this
I mean, if
position.
they start construction, the conservation district could be called out there and just, say, where's your
Yeah.
plan? Stop,
Mhm.
stop, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right, yeah. They haven't brought it back in for signature by the county to get recorded yet either, so.
Not yet.
Not
Because
yet.
it needs disapproval. Well, not
Right.
approval, even though it's withheld, you've done a
Right.
review. It
That's
doesn't
all.
have to be.
That's
We
correct.
gotta sign it anyhow if they come in. If the township signs it,
Is
we
there
have to sign it.
I forget, Mary Liz, on your stamp, is there the same stamp or it just says you reviewed it? It just says reviewed by?
It says we were afforded the opportunity to review the plan.
I got you. And that's all the MPO,
Yep,
MPC.
that's all they require.
Okay, very
Yep.
good.
Does anyone else have anything on that plan?
I know Chet's trying to talk, but we can't hear you, Chet.
Tommy's got to get out of the basement.
See, I'm not trying to block.
Okay, I'm gonna go on to chat. I'm so sorry if you were trying to speak, we couldn't hear you. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have anything. I'm gonna go on to my last review, page 34, Master Millwrights Industrial LLC on Lonesome Road in Old Forge. So currently there is a, I believe it's a machine shop. Yeah, machine shop operation there in an 1,800 square foot building. And they're proposing to construct a new 12,000 square foot building to expand that use. The next page contains my comments. I would really like to see them show me parking calculations for both items, both the existing use and the proposed building, because they're both going to continue in operation. So I think that we need to make sure they have adequate parking. They did reference a code section, but the code section was for parking calculations was in reference to open space. So I provided them in 1B, the code sections for both commercial buildings and industrial. The governing body should make a determination which one of those were best. I will say when I did the parking calculations based off of both of those uses, the calculations were coming up with something like 40 plus parking spaces. And logically, I don't know that this operation requires that many. So I would like to see the governing body decide how many parking spaces and which calculation to use. And then the only other comment that I really had, they do have some screening requirements, but there is a large amount of forested area behind the lot. So I assume that will remain. I'd just like to see a comment listed on the plan that those are to remain, so they're not taken down. They're supposed to bring the lot into compliance. So does anyone have any questions on that one?
Yeah, I see you comment on, you're right, your comment 5 reflects the flood zoning down there.
Yes.
And this area floods constantly, Harry. I mean, you
Yeah.
know that, and everybody else. This
Yep.
road has been out of that service a few times in the last couple of years, so I assume then they're bound by because it's new construction, they're bound by the floodplain, raising up the site and get it
Yeah.
above flood elevation.
Yeah.
Yes.
should be.
And Lonesome Road's an SR, so they're bound by the HOP calculations and drainage and all that, so it's a tough site to expand on.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what the insurance would be on that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, another great review. It's just, well, oh well.
Well, thank you. Well, those are all of my reviews that I have to discuss.
And we have just one more, Bob, real quick on Jefferson Township with their amendment to their zoning ordinance, creating a new Lakeside District, pretty much around Music Lake and a few other of the lakes up there that have the smaller lots with the mix of summer and full-time houses.
All right, so like Mary Liz said, the majority of the amendments were regarding the new Lakeside District. It's primarily going to be residential, single family, tiny houses, manufactured houses, some recreational facilities are permitted, and non-impact or no impact home-based businesses. Other than that, it's pretty much just the stuff that's allowed everywhere, forestry, that kind of thing. There were a few other issues they were changing, things they were tweaking. It increases the minimum size for off-street parking from 9 feet by 18 feet to 10 by 20. It increases the maximum floor area for residential accessory structures from 1,000 feet to 1,500 feet. And it adds a section dealing with recreational vehicle parking. And that's about it.
So that is it for development reviews.
Okay. Okay, I ask for a motion to recommend approval of the reviews for May.
I'll move.
And a second,
Second.
thank
On the
you.
question, Carol,
On the
I have a
question.
direct conflict with item number 2, North Abington Township, lands of Sun Aqua Farms. So just make the record note that I'll vote for the other approvals, but I'll abstain from the lands of Sun Aqua Farms. I'm actually the surveyor that submitted the plan on that, so, on our company.
So moved, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
with the exception. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And any opposed? No? Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, next on new business is a vote by the board to remove Tom Owen Jr. for nonfeasance. He has not attended a meeting since he was appointed last May. We did send him a registered letter. It was signed for. The letter stated he needed to contact us by April 29th if he chose to appeal this or, wish to stay on. We have not heard from him. I believe the commissioners are aware of this. Brenda's shaking or nodding yes. They're aware of it, so they're not objectionable to this. But according to the bylaws, the board has to formally remove him, and then we notify the commissioners of a vacancy.
Mary Liz, I have a question. Since our board doesn't appoint members to the commission, that is done by the county commissioners, this is confusing to me.
Yeah, but we are allowed as the commission to suggest or remove a person, even though they are appointed by the commissioners. It's just the way the bylaws are set up. So they will, we just notify them and they will have the authority to approve who they put on.
So is this considered a vote to recommend removal?
Well, the way the bylaws are written, it says to remove.
Okay.
So however you want to handle it, then we will notify the commissioners there's a vacancy.
Very good.
Mary
And then
Liz,
yeah,
excuse
oh, I'm
me.
sorry, go on.
Mary Liz, wasn't Tom on once before?
He was on several years ago, and then we had that controversial energy plant in Jessup. We remember we had the meeting up at the 911 center
Yes.
because we had.
I'll
quite a
never forget
crowd.
it.
I believe after the vote was taken on that, he handed in his resignation.
So there's been no communication with him since then?
Nothing.
No, and the commissioners, as Mary Liz stated, they are aware, and Mary Liz and I shared the letter that went to him with them prior to sending to him. And, I think that we really want people that are involved on the board. So, he has not shown at a meeting. So at this point, the commissioners can then appoint someone else.
And
I
can
know
we
there's
put
always-
forth a recommendation for who we think might be an appropriate person to serve on the commission in his place?
Yeah, absolutely. Just send it to me.
I know they try to get a pretty spread the demographics out throughout the county to get representation. Was Tom representing a specific area, Mary Liz?
Well, not really, because he
Okay.
was from Archbold, and I know we have Cindy and Chet and Tony
Okay.
Rosani all from that area. We do not have a representative right now from North Pocono.
Yeah, like and Harry and I are down Valley, Scranton and Music area
Yeah, and
down
we
there.
have, Jerry and Rose are from the Abingtons.
Yeah, so I mean, okay,
But we don't
so-
have, Bruce Zero was our North Pocono rep, he
Yeah.
was replaced. So we do not have a North Pocono person on the board.
Yeah, would they consider appointing Bruce, having him return to the commission board? I mean, he was
don't know.
a good commission member.
so the motion would be to remove. I mean, that's the way the bylaws read or our laws.
Yes,
Okay, then I look for a motion to remove Tom Owens Jr. from the board.
Well, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I'll make the motion to remove Tom Owens as a member of the Lackawanna County Planning Commission.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any questions on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Any objections? Seeing none, the motion carries.
and other business real quick. You want to meet in person, or do we want to continue virtually for next month?
Right, so were we meeting in July and August this year?
Probably not, but you'll vote
Oh,
next
that's
month.
right, June, next month is June, all
Yeah,
right.
next month is June. July and August, you'll vote next month to whether to suspend those two meetings.
Okay.
I think this is working out. We're getting a super majority, so, it's.
I agree.
Parking being the biggest issue downtown. I mean, there's just no really place to park. You can go down in the mall and get a ticket and run back down there or try to park at one of the kiosks on the street. But, I think participation is good. We're having a super majority every meeting. So I'd say let's stay virtual. Maybe pick a meeting, maybe reorganization, maybe pick one where we should get together. Or something is really pressing, Mary Liz, maybe, a little more important,
Well,
whatever.
maybe since we're not meeting in July and August, maybe September might be a longer meeting. Maybe that would be a good time to meet in person,
Okay, I don't mind coming in once in a while, but this
Yeah.
is working. This is really
Yeah.
working very well.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree, yeah.
What's the current situation within county government in terms of this uptick in COVID?
Brenda, do you have any idea?
I mean, as of now, we're having commissioner meetings in person. So we haven't put any restrictions on in-person meetings.
Yeah, the building is pretty much open
Yep.
normally, to the public as it was prior to the virus.
Yes.
But you don't have an issue with county employees coming down with COVID?
No, there's protocols that are put in place and we're following CDC guidance and such. But, as for individual activities and meetings and going with normal business, there's no restrictions. Clearly, if someone has COVID, even, if they're asymptomatic, there's a procedure for them as well.
I agree with John. I think the attendance has improved since we've moved to Zoom meetings, and I think they work. I'm okay with that.
Be nice to get back together, maybe like Cindy said, maybe for September, or something like that. We could all get back together or in person. And, if there was.
John's pushing for that dinner meeting, I think.
No, not a dinner meeting, no.
Well, maybe September, maybe December for a holiday
We
meeting.
could all have a Christmas meeting.
Yeah, like maybe a Christmas luncheon meeting like we
There
do
you
for
go.
PTA, Mary Liz.
Yeah, that'll work.
If there was a convenient spot off-site where everybody could meet, a little more accessible, a county facility somewhere, that might not be a bad idea too. So give you some time to think about it. Because PennDOT would move the MPO meetings around. We were going down to NEPA once in a while. We were going up to, we were down Hazelton once. I mean, it might be easier for everyone if there was an off-premise building that had space, for a meeting room that might be easier,
Yeah.
Well, the 911 center is kind of the convenient.
Yeah, that
center,
is.
Centrally located. I believe they're open again to the public. We could inquire if we wanted to move a meeting up there.
That might not be a bad idea. Take a ride up there in September or, October, whenever you want to have one together,
Yeah. Okay.
Because we've had other meetings up there, the 12-year plan gets presented up there usually, right, Mary Liz, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a good building. It's got plenty of space, accessible to the public, and there's parking for everyone, for us.
We don't need a motion for that, do we, Mary Liz?
No, we can discuss it next month and then we'll decide, because we will have to put an ad in the paper because we're changing the meeting location if we do.
That's not a big deal. You got enough budget to do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
In all the years I've been on, Mary Liz, besides what was her name? Used to come down from the Abingtons all the time to see how we were making out with the Sapa plant.
Oh, Denise.
Denise, she was about the only one who ever came,
I know.
I think Joe O'Brien showed up once for a project. I don't remember, we don't get anybody. Harry, back in your day, do you remember? I don't remember a lot of.
Once in a while.
A few once in a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Only if there's something controversial.
Yeah,
We got it. Okay.
sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay, and then there was no public comment, Mary Liz?
No.
Okay. Then we move on to adjournment and look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And again, good to see everyone. Thank
Yep.
you all.
Who?